everybody. Welcome back to Cracklin' Rosie True Crime. I'm so happy that you've tuned in with me, and I hope that you're having a wonderful day. Today we'll be playing a little bit of true crime catch up, and we'll be discussing two cases, the Watts family murders and the Sons of Sam. These are two cases that we just can't seem to let go in the true crime community. And I'd like to share some basic details with you on the cases and why we just can't let them go. We'll begin with the Watts family murders. The Watts family murders occurred in Frederick, Colorado, United States during the early morning hours of August 13th, 2018. Christopher Lee Watts, born May 16, 1985, admitted to murdering his pregnant wife, Shanann Catherine Watts, born January 10, 1984, by strangulation. He later admitted to killing their daughters, 4-year-old Bella and 3-year-old Celeste, by smothering them with a blanket over their heads. On November 6, 2018, Watts pled guilty to multiple counts of first-degree murder as part of a plea deal when the death penalty, which was later abolished in Colorado 2020, was removed from sentencing. He was sentenced to 5 life sentences without the possibility of parole, 3 to be served consecutively. So those are just the very basics on the case. Before I get into why so much controversy, I'd like to see if I can share my screen with you. This is the beautiful Watts family. This is Bella and Celeste, also known as Cece, Shanann Watts, and Christopher Lee Watts. So right off the bat, you see this beautiful picture just painting this illusion of a perfect family. And I believe that this has a lot to do with why this horrific crime is just that much more horrific. So when we think of family murders, a lot of times we hear the tragedy that took place, and then the mother or father or whoever committed the murders usually takes their own life afterward, and there's usually a lot of mental illness history there. But in this case, the controversy starts with all of the friends and family that were interviewed speak so highly of this family, of them being such a picture perfect family, and Chris being such a perfect husband. So as we learn and we dig deeper into the case, we find out that that's not really the case. On social media, they appeared to be this perfect family, but there were a lot of underlying factors and a lot of things going on which we weren't aware of at the time of the crime, but we did learn shortly after. So one of the main, I think, that started the controversy was initially in Christopher's admission of guilt. He stated that Shanann Watts had strangled the babies, and when he found out, or he saw on a camera in the home, he then strangled her. Well, we learned that that's BS, and there's some controversy still there. There's a big part of the true crime community that still believe that Shanann, the mom, murdered the little girls. Now, I'm not here to, I will share some of my feelings towards the case, and I will tell you, I don't believe that at all. If you watch any of her social media videos, I mean, she just adored her girls, and she just seemed to be the perfect mother. We all know that none of us are perfect and we don't have perfect families, but you can definitely see that mother baby love coming through. So, regardless of the facade that may have been painted on social media, there's no doubt in my mind or my heart that she truly loved those baby girls and would never, ever hurt them. So, that's controversy one. Christopher later admits that he was responsible for the murders of the girls, but it was very veiled. It was, veiled in mystery and secrecy at the time of his arraignment and sentencing. So there was this plea deal made, not a lot of detail given, and basically they said, well, if you confess to all of the murders, we will take the death penalty, which at the time was still available in Colorado, but no one had been sentenced to death in many years. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it was like 25 years. No one had been sentenced to death. So he really didn't admit to that time. It wasn't until a later time where he had a prison interview where he admitted to murdering the girls. But it seems as though he was just going with the new narrative. So there's a lot of controversy there too. Did he do it? Maybe. I don't know. But more controversy lies in the fact that Chris was having an affair. He was having an affair with Nicole Kessinger, and that's where probably the biggest amount of controversy lies. You have this huge, a huge part of the true crime community that feels that the mistress was the reason for this horrific crime, possibly involved in this horrific crime. And the fact that she was never interrogated, she was only interviewed as a witness for this crime, but never interrogated as a suspect. I'm not saying that she's guilty of anything. She was never accused of anything. Again, she was never even brought in as a proper suspect. Where more controversy lies is that there were communications via text back and forth between the mistress and Chris, that when she went in to speak with police, Frederick police, she had deleted. She had broken a SIM card on her phone. She had deleted texts. She had a potential alibi, but wouldn't give information about the source and who she was with. She didn't want them involved. For those of you who are familiar with this case, that would be the leave Jim alone. Again, I'm not accusing her of anything. I'm just saying that if this happened to me, which it never would, but if it happened to me and I had an alibi, I would be giving that information up straight away. No games, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I mean, here's the information. Sorry, Jim. I was with you. You need to clear me. We need to get cleared. But that didn't happen. Once the plea deal was made with Christopher, the case was shut down. And investigating law enforcement were even surprised. They're like, we have so much more to look into, but the case was just shut down. When the information went down to the district attorney's office, the case was closed. They sentenced him, closed. That's where all the controversy lies, because there are so many people that believe that there is so much more to this case. Again, I'm not sharing too much of my beliefs because I don't want to steer you in any way. I want you to make your own decisions. But that's some of the reason that there's a lot of lingering lots of lingering questions and controversy with this case. If you find this case interesting, we will be deeper diving into some of the, I'm not going to go from beginning to end with the case. There are so many videos already out there on YouTube by true crime providers and content creators. So I'm not willing to regurgitate all this. I recommend that you do a little research of your own, and then we're going to pick and choose some clouded areas that still need discussion. Before we leave this case, I'd like to also mention that there were phone pings on the mistress's phone in the vicinity of the Watts family home the morning of the alleged murders. I say alleged because there's also controversy as to when the murders took place, if they actually took place when law enforcement is saying they took place, or if they took place a little bit later. I'm not going to get into that right now, but that is also, there's a little bit of veiled mystery there as well. More controversy lies with some of the employees, some of the guys and females that worked with Chris. Again, I'm not going to go big into that, but there's more discussion to be had there if you go with that narrative. There are some creators saying that there was a big plot for an accident to happen in the place of work of Christopher. He worked for Anadarko, and there had been some oil explosions, some gas explosions. So there's a little bit of a story, not a little, a big story there. A lot of true crime providers think that there was some big plot to blow up the oil field. And again, I don't know that I'm convinced on that at all. I believe that there's more to this story, that there are others that need to be investigated, but I'm not sure how much I'm buying into some of the bigger stories. I'm just sharing that with you in case you're interested. You can go look it up, and believe me, you will find dozens upon dozens of video with all kinds of stories, some factual, some elaborated upon, but I want you to be the judge. So lots of controversy with this case, and it's the reason it won't die. Many, many people, I will say this, at the very least, many people feel that the mistress needed to be investigated and needs to be investigated and potentially was involved in this horrific case. So I'm going to move on from that, since today's just a catch up and we're just going short. So I'm going to stop sharing here, and we're going to move on to the Sons of Sam, formerly known as the Son of Sam. This case dates back to the late 70s in New York. Most people are familiar with it, but they've bought into the original narrative of this case and let it go. So if they're not from New York, there's no reason why they would linger on this case unless they had specific interest, which I do. So I'm just going to give you some basic facts, and I'm not even going to read this. I'm just going to go off the cuff with this. David Berkowitz, also known as the .44 caliber killer and the Son of Sam. Again, in the late 70s, I see that they've now changed the information on the Wikipedias and the Murderpedia. It used to be 77 and 78, 76 and 77, excuse me. And now they're moving back to 75. But anyhow, there were a string of murders that happened in the New York area at that time. David Berkowitz was arrested for these crimes, and he confessed, stating that there was a dog, his neighbor's dog, who was sending him demonic messages and telling him that he needed to commit these crimes. So, why won't we let this go? Well, that story is obviously ridiculous. However, once Berkowitz confessed and he was arrested, again, the case was closed. NYPD wanted this closed. It was back in the day, if you go back and research a little bit about this case, there was a serial killer loose in the streets of New York City. And at the time, New York City was in a very, very bad financial position, and the crime rate was just horrific. They couldn't have a serial killer on the loose. So I get why once they had someone's confession, they had an arrest, case closed. It was also, just like with the Colorado case, with the Watts case, I didn't mention it there, but there were elections going on. There was a lot of political stuff going on. And that's one thing, and we'll discuss that on another video. But when politics melts in and merges in with crimes and investigations, it really pisses me off. And I'm sure it does to most of the community. And that's why we get obsessed with these cases. Anyhow, the reason for the current day obsession. So there was some more obsession as we passed he was arrested and all that good stuff. I have other videos, so I'm not going to go into all the basic details. Please go check out my other basic case fact details. But there was so much controversy with this case from the beginning. There were notes left at the crime scene. The notes were all in different hands. So if you put them all together, and again, you go to my notes videos, you will see them all together. They're different handwriting. The composite sketches all look different. And in my opinion, none of them look like Berkowitz. But anyhow, you can look at that video and be the judge of it yourself. So controversy right there. Many of you have heard of investigative journalist Maury Terry, who passed away a few years ago. In the 80s, he was obsessed and would not let this case go for many reasons, some of which we'll never know. But he put out his book, The Ultimate Evil, and that drew attention. The case was even reopened for a bit, but then nothing ever came of it. So why are we talking about the Son of Sam today? Well, earlier this year, Netflix put out The Sons of Sam: Descent into Darkness, which is a 4-part series. It's on Netflix. Did I say that? I might have. But they put that, excuse me, one second. A lot of people have gone on, all ages, listened to it from the Maury Terry perspective, and are now going back and researching everything. So the controversy so much. Others were involved. Well, you have all these different composite sketches. You have all this different handwriting on the notes. You also have clues in the notes where others are literally mentioned. So you may have heard of the Carr brothers, John and Michael Carr, who were friends of Berkowitz, who in the notes, and Berkowitz later himself admits that they were part of this group, this cult, and were involved in the murders. We're now learning from newer content creators that the sister may have had some significant involvement, Wheat Carr. And I am so looking forward to hearing some of those facts and stories, see where my take is on that. But again, you have a case. The perp confesses, the case is closed, and that's it. And all of the extra details, like all of these inconsistencies, just get swept under the rug. Why? We've got our guy, we need to close this case. We've got a city to take care of, and we don't need to be dealing with this. It's done, it's closed. It's not done. Now, again, I'm not going to give you too much of my opinion because I want you to make up your own mind. But I very much believe that there were others involved in this case. To what extent, I don't know. If you haven't read Maury Terry's book and you are interested in this case, it's a great basis. Once you've learned the basic details of the original case, Maury Terry's book is a great basis of just gathering knowledge so that you can see all the different pathways that this case can take. And then you, as an educated true crime enthusiast, can determine what is believable to you, what interests you, and what paths you want to follow. There are people investigating this case now from, here's the base case. You've got the Maury Terry, what people say conspiracy, but conspiracy is really just the stories unknown. So a lot of people hear conspiracy and they think BS. And no, it's just, here's some more facts and information. And now here we are, Fresher, son of Sam Enthusiast, taking some of that information and running with it and seeing where it goes. So that's the reason for the interest and some of the controversy in this case. But it's said that it's so much more than a serial killer who just terrorized the streets of New York City. There's some information out there that contradicts the original narrative of Berkowitz being this loner, this, lunatic, which I still believe he had significantly he significantly had mental illness and was to some degree a lunatic. Otherwise, you just don't get involved in this stuff. But there's so much out there that also leads us to the narrative that others were involved. Now, Berkowitz does admit to being present at all the crimes, and he does take the responsibility. So if you're not that familiar with this case and you want to dive deep, this is a great one to dive deep into because there's so many pathways. But the controversy today is we're trying to find how deep it goes, how far it goes into a bigger picture of occult, of elitists, of who was involved in this and how it trickled down, and Berkowitz taking the rap. Now, when I say that, I don't say it lightly. I believe he's guilty. Again, I just believe that there were others that needed to be investigated thoroughly, and that never happened. But if this case is new for you, you're going to have a lot of fun with the details that are available. So, short video today. Again, I just wanted to give a quick wrap up of those two cases, a little catch up rather, so that if you have interest in these cases, you could join me in future premieres and lives. So I'm going to cut it there. I think that I've rambled on enough. Please leave your questions in comments. And if you are familiar with these cases and have your own theories and would like to share them, please let me know. Thanks again for tuning in with me, Cracklin' Rosie. I hope you have a bright and wonderful day. And until the next video, take care, guys.